Is the LDS Church, the Mormon Church, are they really a cult? If so, why is that? Can an organization that claims to be Christian, that claims to believe in Jesus and God, really be considered a cult? Today, let's answer that question. Today I want to answer the question, why is the Mormon Church or the LDS Church considered a cult? Because most of us, when we hear the name cult, we usually think of this one charismatic leader who brainwashes all of his people and separates them from their family and then has them, living in a heavily fenced, guarded community, something like that. We don't really see that with our Mormon friends. Most of the Mormons we know are very nice and very sweet and very kind. And they go to church and they help people and they actually talk about Jesus and they talk about God. So why in the world would they be considered a cult? Today, we're going to have Mike Winger from BibleThinker.org. He is going to help us with this question. He's a great Bible teacher, studied Mormonism a lot. And so hopefully he'll have an answer for you.
Okay, the reason why we're doing this conference is really something that the brother of Jesus said in Jude 3. Here's what the verse is. It says, let's see, where is it? There we go. Beloved, while I was very diligent to write to you concerning our common salvation, I found it necessary to write to you, exhorting you to contend earnestly for the faith, which was once for all delivered to the saints. So, our thinking is that if it was that important to the brother of Jesus, then it kind of is very important for us.
Yeah. Because,
and like Mike, you and I talked about this, we're not doing this conference because we're trying to bash someone's religion or just be a jerk. We're talking about this because if you get this wrong, eternity is at stake. And I think that's what my passion is, and I think that's your passion. We want people to know the right way to get to heaven. So that's why we're doing this. We have to know what other religions believe so we can compare it to this whole faith once delivered. So that's why we brought Mike in, because he's really, really good at that. So here's my thought before we get into this, is that for most of us, Mormons show up to our door. And what happens is when they do is we hear them say the same words. We hear them say, Jesus or God the Father or the Holy Spirit, and then they show you the Bible, and I think it confuses people because they're like, well, I think they're Christians because they're saying the same thing, and they're riding their bikes and they really care about me because it's hot out, And honestly, I have an entire side of my family that are Mormons, nicest people in the entire world, but when it comes down to it, we need to say, what the Mormon Church teaches looks nothing like this faith once delivered. So let's start here, Mike, with this whole idea of, for us as Christians, we would consider Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons as a cult. And I don't even mean that mean, but there are reasons for that. And tell me, so let's start there. Why is Mormonism considered a cult?
Okay, well, as we shared last time with the JW video, it's important to understand that the word cult has many uses, like the word green. It can talk about green thumb or a green plant or someone who's new at something. So the word has different uses. In theological contexts, when you're talking about biblical truth, when we use the word cult, we're generally talking about a group that claims to be coming from Christianity, sometimes claims to be Christian, but it really isn't. And it's not that it isn't because we just disagree on some doctrines. There's actually room for a lot of disagreement on a lot of different things within true Christianity. It's because we disagree on central core issues, like the very nature of who God is, who Jesus is, what the gospel even is, what it means. And so when you have two groups that have, two different definitions of God, Jesus, the gospel, and these things can't be true at the same time. They're mutually exclusive. Well, one of them is authentic Christianity, and the other one would be a cult, or it's pretending to be Christian. Now, this doesn't mean that Mormons are aware of this. Obviously, if they're aware of this, they would immediately say, I'm not Mormon anymore. Right. But that we call it that because it disagrees with Christianity. And early on, Mormonism would have said the same thing. They said that all Christian denominations were abominations and that they were all false And so they effectively said, you're all cults.
Right.
and we're saying, well, we can show with the Bible what the truth of Christianity is. That's what we mean when we say like a cult. It's not meant to be a personal insult. It's more of like an analysis of how genuine is your claim to be Christian.
I hope this helps you today as you start beginning to think through some of these things that we've been talking about over the last few weeks in this particular series. As Christians, as true followers of Jesus, we have to believe in the God of the Bible. We have to believe in the Jesus of the Bible. We have to believe in the salvation that the Bible talks about. That is the truth that we have to stand on. And we have to recognize that when a church comes on the scene and they want people to think that they're Christians, people that even use the same words like God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, even though they have completely different meanings, we need to be able to stop and say, wait a minute, that's a false religion. That is a fake Christian church. That is a cult. And the reason why we need to remember that is because we're warned of churches like this in the Bible. Jesus' brother Jude tells us this in Jude 3. He says, "Beloved, while I was very diligent to write to you concerning our common salvation, I found it necessary to write to you, exhorting you to contend earnestly for the faith, which was once delivered for all saints." We have to contend for the faith, contend for the true faith of Jesus alone, the truth about the God of the Bible. He's not one of many gods. He's the God. We need to contend for the truth about salvation, that it's in Jesus alone, not in the Mormon church. I hope these videos are helping you. And if you want to know more about our two-part series that we did, I'll put a link below. And if you want to know more about the differences between Mormonism and biblical Christianity, you can go to unveilingmormonism.com, and that's Lynn Wilder's website, and she'll be able to walk you through a whole bunch of other things because she used to be a Mormon for 30 years and a BYU tenured professor who realized that what the Mormon church was teaching is actually not anything what the Bible teaches. So hope that helps today. Have a good day.